Overseas, Femi Akonde had an exclusive chat with the governor of Akwa Ibom State in New York, and they talked about President Tinubu's outing and his approach to global politics.
President Bola Tinubu's participation in the United Nations General Assembly may have opened a new vista for Africa and raised the bar for the Africa Rising concept, which attempts to create an alternative to dependency on Western donors. In an exclusive interview with the governor of Akwa Ibom State, who is one of the sub-national leaders on the president's entourage to the United Nations General Assembly, he explains how clearly President Bola Tinubu understands what is at stake.
All Africa asks for is an opportunity to be at the table, to be able to participate in global development.
The early days of President Bola Tinubu's administration has not been a walk in the park. It has been rough and tough. His decisions, policies and programs have gotten knocks at home, but also kudos both home and abroad.
The president, in my mind, comes as a man that is fit for the moment, someone who understands where he's going. He understands the issues we are grappling with. He understands exactly what he wants to do, and he comes ready to do it.
Outside of Nigeria, the president has been mostly concerned about ensuring foreign businesses come inside Nigeria. In his meetings with investors, the message has been that Nigeria is open for business. The 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly is the first time President Bola Tinubu will be on this global stage to advance the cause of Africa. But it appears it will be the beginning of a new kind of engagement as he seeks to raise the stakes and renegotiate a better deal for the continent in the world order. Femi Akonde, TVC News, New York.
We're back with more details about what transpired in New York, particularly from the Nigerian perspective, right after this break. Stay with us. Well, State House correspondent Femi Akonde joins me live from New York right now. Femi, the president had a meeting with Nigerians in diaspora. He actually had a town hall meeting with them. Walk us through what the main highlights from that meeting were.
Told Nigerians in diaspora that indeed Nigeria is open for business. You know, the president has been on this aggressive investment drive to attract foreign direct investment into the country. He believes that that's one of the quickest ways to grow the country's economy and indeed improve the GDP. And that's the message he also took to Nigerians in diaspora, telling them that Nigeria is ready for business and that enabling environment that they need to come into Nigeria and do business is being created by the government. He is telling them that in these security challenges that used to before now discourage business from coming to Nigeria is being tackled head on by the security chiefs in the country. And he also acknowledged that a lot of people indeed also corroborated the fact that since President Bola Tinubu assumed office as president, the insecurity that prevailed across the country has drastically reduced. Of course, we still have pockets of violence and violent attacks here and there, but well, there's been a drastic reduction. And they say this is quite impressive for businesses and indeed foreign businesses to come into Nigeria. He also told them that, well, to explain why he had to remove the petrol subsidy, the monetary policy that was also introduced by his administration. He explained all of that to Nigerians in diaspora because he said that before now, what a lot of them have been hearing have been disinformation and, of course, misinformation. So he helped put all of that in perspective. And his message was well received. Well, moving forward, we expect all of that to translate in real terms to his investment that President Bola Tinubu desperately needs to bring into Nigeria. Nathan.
Everyone here is talking about President Tinubu's speech at the UN General Assembly and it's eliciting reactions from across the country. But what desired impact would you say his speech got among stakeholders in New York?
Well, they say President Bola Tinubu did make the case for Africa. Everyone, every president that came on that podium to speak spoke about their country, development in their country. But President Bola Tinubu came and made a case for Africa to make the global community understand that all Africa is asking for is a seat at the table and not handouts. Also made them understand that the history of Africa is also different from the post-war history of Europe. So the kind of policies of the United Nations that was used to assist European countries should be entirely different from that of Africa, because Africa has its own peculiarity. Is also asking for reform in the United Nations so that Africa will now have a strong voice, especially in the Security Council, which is the decision-making organ of the United Nations. So, he also met with the United Nations Secretary General to further escalate his concerns and his desire to see all of these reforms in the United Nations, a reform of the global financing order, and a whole lot of things, and support for Africa and indeed organizations in Africa like the ECOWAS and the African Union against the military incursion that we are seeing in some West African countries. He is asking them to also support the sanctions imposed by a body like ECOWAS on countries like Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. He says until the international community gives support this sanction, that is when coup d'etats in Africa will no longer be fashionable. And it's resonating among leaders, global leaders in the United Nations. All of them seem to be on the same page with President Bola Tinubu. So moving forward, we expect to see greater collaboration between President Bola Tinubu, ECOWAS, Africa, and the international community.
We're counting on that as well, but it's being widely reported here that the president has left New York. Are you privy to the next steps, if he's returning to Nigeria or is continuing to consult with foreign leaders like we've seen in the past weeks?
Well, there's no official statement on that. I also gathered that the president is expected to be a special guest at an event at the Microsoft House, where we expect to see the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, and also the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. We expect the presidency to officially communicate with that to us, and for now we cannot speculate.
Let me accord it live for us in New York. Thank you for the update.